Hello, welcome to the value of everything. Now, we are talking about profit motivation. Oh, yeah, you greedy little swine. You're always trying to chase that greenback. We have a very interesting world that we live in, whereby we are always seeking to make a good, nice load of dough, and obviously that incentive does get a lot of negative press, maybe just sort of deep inside. Now, in general, when somebody makes a hell of a lot of money and you haven't, the first emotion which comes to mind is a little bit of an annoyance, anger, a little bit of frustration with your own self. Envy is probably the word. There's a lot of emotion involved in the term that somebody else is very successful whilst you are unsuccessful in the realms of making money. Now, the first thing as a philosopher is why you measuring yourself purely on how much money you can produce. That measurement of your success is a little bit of a damaging ideal to be in, and I'll get to the point a little bit later as to the mindset. It's not necessarily your motivation to create tons of money. Money is an output of this, but I'll explain to you a little bit later. Okay, so yeah, there's definitely there's definitely like little argument and counter argument to the profit motive, and I'll go through that in this episode just to give you a little bit of a breakdown. It's it definitely it sprung to mind this morning when I was waking up, and I was just thinking, maybe I need to cover this subject. Anything that I feel a little bit unsure about or a bit worried about, I seem to go, right, let's go for it. Let's do it. Take it on. I guess one of these podcasts are not going to be one of my more successful ones. I've got to put either China economics or a really passionate one out there, like how to romance a lady or something like that. But yeah, it's I think this is probably very key to the way that we live. So let me explain this further. So now, profit motive, in its beautiful, innocent definition, is to ensure that resources are being allocated efficiently, which sounds like a very, very nice thing. Now, if I was any philosopher that's worth its salt, I have to really look into the whole big picture, look at all the arguments, counter arguments, explore them, and see where we go from here. Because even like just from stepping into this this arena right now, I feel like, okay, well, this argument's won. Greed is good, and let's all live our lives the way it is. But yeah, there are some further things on that. So there's one little issue when it comes to profit motives, and there's an idea which is out there that the profits shouldn't, where you have this supersized corporation, its profits should not supersede the needs of the people. Now, I threw that little C word in there, the corporation, just to get people a bit wound up. Now, I think that the corporation, or my perspective on the corporation is that it is a very little tricky legal shield for a number of profit-seeking people, where they do not take any financial responsibility for the ownership of their company, and creates a whole new entity. When I say an entity, almost like a person, but it's this person is a business, recognized in legal terms, which takes all the flack, and then they can drink all the profits from. But then, if there's any issues, that corporation can file for bankruptcy, and it can go to wayward, and you can just be an employer of that corporation still. So you're all fine and dandy. Whereas in the past, you were the owner of the corporation, of the company, and responsibility lied on your doormat. So yeah, just think about that corporation element just before we delve any better, because that, when we talk about seeking profit and motivation, we do have to highlight that elephant in the room before we start to take a few jabs. But yeah, so we do have this issue where I am a business, and I am making a certain product. Let's go for the energy thing. So I'm making energy, and I'm giving out energy to my people, yet I've got certain waste products that I need to get rid of, and I am trying to do that. I am seeking profit at every level, and I am seeking to get rid of that, get rid of the resource, or the waste product is the better word to use, for the lowest price possible, because I'm seeking high profits. So there we come to behind my little energy turbine factory. Not wind turbine, but to say like it's running off a turbine, a coal power one, whatever, nuclear energy. I'm pouring all this toxic waste into the water behind me, and thus it is polluting everywhere. So yeah, so there we go. I've highlighted a major aspect of the problem of profit motive. I'm a greedy person. I'm seeking more and more higher profits so I can achieve higher status. I don't even need to live there now, because I'm so rich that I am away from where that plant lives. That is, I'm in a different country. I'm on the other side of the world, and I just say, yeah, let's just pollute that waterway. Now, I have to throw some counter arguments against that now. So, generally, in the past, we had contracts. So when I say that, I say currently we have rules and regulations about how you can get rid of your waste. So that is the current situation with us. So we have a good government that keeps order in place and ensures that there isn't this major pollution which occurs. So we have rules and regulators. The government man comes around, checks the pollution, and ensures that nothing happens too out of the ordinary. Okay, so yeah, okay. There's the pro-state argument. Now, say for whatever reason we do not have the state in place, then we have to assume that everything is owned at that point. So that guy either is polluting somebody's land, or he's polluting his own land. Now, we've got an issue on both ends of those scales. So I've just said, right, so there's no actual pollution, but there is that he's polluted both the water that he owns, or the water that somebody else owns. Now, if he's polluting somebody else's water, then there's certain damage costs that are occurring, and he would be filed for damages. Now, we have to sort of think, okay, so, well, how can you file for damages when there isn't a law court in place in the first place? So, I would expect, seeing that we are now, this is okay. You can counter argument against me at every stage. If we are taking up ownership and deeds of different items, there has to be a log of everything that takes into place. I believe that blockchain technology can do all of that work and lock us into every single known asset in the world can be derived onto the blockchain itself. So we do have accountability to every single item out there. So that when one part of the blockchain is being diminished or taken of value to the other, there is a legal argument that one can convert to the other. Now, you would still need some arbitrator to ensure that was happening, but I would say that the legal costs and the for you to do business in this sort of environment, you would have to sort of have certain general insurances when you would take ownership of an item, so that if you're being irresponsible with that item, that you there would be certain legal ramifications for it. So I do believe that the blockchain technology can step in at that point, and you could have certain legal elements fall between the two items, if there was a definite accountability of damage that was occurring between two assets. So yeah, we haven't really extended the technology of Bitcoin. I know this is obviously when we're talking about like total like anarchy, where there's just the government's just disappeared and there's nothing else around, and we're just literally just starting from scratch. Yeah, that's a bit tricky. But I'm just talking in terms of just general ownership. So, and I'm just trying to put a format in place in terms of what the sorry about that. The ownership scheme is there. So yeah, we have ownership, we have arbitration if there is certain damages and liabilities that are coming into place. I guess the question that's coming across here is so who's in power and all that kind of stuff. Well, when you take on ownership of things, there may be a general arbiter of who owns what, and you may sign up to certain things, different companies which declare that these goods are yours, and they'll fight your cause, and there's certain insurance elements to them as well if they do find that there are certain wrongdoings. So I would expect that a lot of those companies would exist and pop up out of nowhere in the gulf that there is no government. So if the pollution is happening on somebody else's water, then the blockchain would start to send a few noughts and zeros, and then the insurance company will all of a sudden say, right, okay, well, we've got this argument that we are diminishing the value of that. We need to go to this arbiter. We need to go to these independent sources, and this is what our current company, what our business is insured with, and these are the legal arbiters of the two disagreements. So we can go to those. They look and they account the issues and differences, and then they work out a certain compensation scheme which is occurring. So now, obviously, if that person's water's been damaged and it's going to take a couple of 100 years, then that person's going to have to repay the entire cost of that lake in the first place. So then the total need of the total essence of you polluting that water is just been smashed away, and you've got to pay like a cost to that water. And like, say you have an asset There could be you could have caused irreparable damage, which goes beyond the original cost of the actual asset itself, because it is a land thing, and people are going to have businesses that run and use off of it, and if they can't drink from the water, there's you've got a lot of more incentives which are kicking in around that as well. So your one act can lead to extreme amounts of financial hardship if you're doing something damaging to the environment, that your business would be wouldn't be able to continue in that sense, and you would be totally disincentivized to do such a environmental damaging thing to increase your profit motive. Now, I went a little bit all over the place there, so I'm always going to throw in that little Bitcoin coin in there, just because the argument is a stateless society when I put it forward. Again, if you do have the law courts around, you can quite happily go down to the law court and ask them to work it out between you two. But in general, in common law, if you do own the lakes, then you can put forward an argument against that. Now, you could say, what about the air? Now, there is definite things where people own, the governments do own airspace. Now, airspace, you think, oh, what the fuck? But the governments do own airspace in general. There isn't a privatized airspace, but there wouldn't be any harm in you owning the airspace. And if you find, and probably one of the major things that you'll be looking for is that if anybody is polluting your airspace beyond, to an extreme level, and you would have certain requirements in place that if businesses are operating in your general airspace, you would fine them and punish them, because the general thing is that if you want people to use your airspace, more people to move into that area and stuff like that, create more flights to and from your area, your key driver is to maintain and improve the airspace quality of that product. Another interesting twist. You can own the airspace, you can own the seas, certain areas, just governments do that at the moment. So there's that part. So I've covered the environmental factor for you. Please come back to me. Now, you've got great arguments against me if we do not have any state at that time and we do not have this a good solid Bitcoin environment in place. Now, if I mention to you these ideas and no business has created them just yet, just remember, this is a little idea which you could do for yourself. So you do need a little bit of technical ideas, but just challenge yourself. Just try and work out a little bit about law, a little bit about arbitration, and you've got and how you could adopt it into a Bitcoin technology. That is, with the absence of government, that is your business is going to flourish. So there you go. There's a good profit motive for you. So yeah, we have that issue. Now let me just try to think of other things which people could do. So I don't know why I keep going over this point, but oh yeah, this is a good one that's always in the news as well. Not saying this is a good one, but this is a good argument. So there's a factory, and I've set up this factory in one of the poorest parts in the world, and it's a very manual, laboured sort of factory. There isn't much work to do in the area as well, and I choose to pay the workers gradually less and less money for the job that they're doing. Oh gosh, right. So, I am being evil because there is no other opportunity. Now that again is incorrect. Let's assume that there are no major borders or anything like that in place because there is not a state society around. Then, then you've got the option to move. There is no thing that is holding you back to seek profits somewhere else. You could, for some reason, be in this like fanciful desert million miles away from anything, and it's going to take a little while to get out of there. But it shouldn't really get to that stage where you're totally trapped. And you got the ability to pick up your things and move somewhere else. The reason why that you're accepting that you're staying there is they're just paying you enough for you to stay there for the amount of diminishment of time and your labour in combined. So you're always doing that sum of calculation that, okay, well, the money's just enough for me to be incentivized to work there. Now, you could say, okay, well, they've got these amazing costs. There's all this. They got to provide for food, and food is expensive, and any number of those factors. But these extremely poor countries, you've got to think about how much their currency's probably been trashed over time, how there's been like inefficient governments that have just piled on loads of debts onto their nations. There's all those other factors before you actually look into the actual problem. I don't think I'm smashing these arguments brilliantly, but just explore these arguments, and if you find that there's any little chinks in my armor, remember I'm going from a corporatocracy, which we are living in right now, to a anarchic capitalism state. So just bear that in mind. Not just complete anarchy with nothing, just some few crazy people that are running around. So the companies, they do disregard morals or public safety in pursuit of profit. I do agree that happens, but there's in the situation of the polluting of the rivers, there's like this very weak government that can't really operate to find these big corporations which have moved in, and they're more powerful than the government itself. And then they pollute the waters. They can bribe back the government to say, okay, well, let me get away with this. I'll give you these backhanders. These government officials, I'll give you these backhanders, and you don't see anything right. So you're putting power into different objects, and then where you have the power, you can bribe and get rid of the problem. Now, I guess when you've got a powerful state like the US government, then they're a little bit less prone to taking bribes. However, the big corporations of America can quite happily fund the government parties. But when it comes to your small company that's polluting, there's probably not much of a way of getting around it. And so maybe that's, you can see some good which is happening in that respect. So you got that respect. Also, just throw into the mix, you may have insurance companies which are dedicated to, and prevention companies which people may have subscribed to, which are trying to improve the quality and the life of people, so that if they are detecting something that is highly diminishing to one's health, then they are going to swarm them like a hornets. Like a load of hornets going around a nest, and start litigating against them, telling that this person who owns this. Now, remember, the number one thing that you own is your body, beyond anything else, and then everything else that's a product of your labour is again something of your ownership. However, once you have created something and people can observe the efforts of your creation, especially if it's new ideas, then that can be adapted and adopted to other people's means. However, if you've bought some wood and you've chopped the wood into nice little cabinets, that is your ownership, and then you can quite happily sell that on. But obviously, if somebody looks at what you've done and say, "Okay, well, that's a nice cabinet. I might make myself one." There's no harm in people doing that themselves. Just to go on the copyright argument. So let's think a little bit more about profit motivation. Yeah, selfishness and greed. Whoa, here we go. There's the biggest problems, hey? This argument gets spun around, and it's amazing how it can get spun around. Now, here we go into a little bit of philosophy here. We've got economists like Milton Friedman and the author, philosopher, and Ayn Rand. If you put your mindset into this, now, everything that you do is for your own selfish interest. What? I can't believe it. Now, can you believe that? Well, we are living in our own lives. We are self-interested in how we pursue our goals and want to improve our lives. And we are all about ourselves. So try and argue against that. I don't think there's a great argument against that, really. I think I mentioned the other day, I forgot the word. It's like biocentrism, where you're just stuck in your own little world, in your own little mind. It is true. You are a product of your own selfish nature. If you don't think of things, you're extremely impulsive, and you just steal and thieve and all the nasty things that you could possibly do. However, if you are a little bit more long-term thinking and still thinking about your own self-interest, you will apply virtues in your life so that you will share any good, nice items with your friends or even the poor, and you will be kind and generous and show sportsmanship on the field. You'll show bravery and courage and protect the weak. And if you apply all of those virtues in your life, you will have a lot of people surrounding you, protecting you and ensuring that if anything happens that would be negative, that you are always looked after and cared for. Because of the immense amount of good that you've ever done. Now, if you think about those people that have really pushed the boat out and out of, have just been completely empathetic of other people, and you think of Schindler first, don't you, about them? But you can't really see quite much the repayment, because I think he just vanished into nowhere. But I think he's sort of quite revered because of how the movie sort of depicted him. But there are definitely characters in life where they've been highly charitable, and people have the utmost admiration and respect, and they are a celebrity, a real celebrated person for the act of their virtues. And it comes back down to the fact that we are self-interested, and it's a little bit of an opposite. Like, how can you be so selfish yet be so kind? And it is the most amazing argument, because it does make you think, and then you realize that this is the way it works. And everybody starts from the point of, especially if they haven't been raised well or anything like that, they start working on their basis of self-interest, and then they realize, okay, well, if we're going to do a little bit better, say if you're a criminal, I might as well team up with this other man and share the profits. Now that's the first lesson in people working on their own self-interests. Now, I have a son, and he is very possessive of all of his toys, and he does not like to share one bit. Gradually, over time, I'm going to try and sort of work out a way of teaching him how to share things. But yeah, for the meantime, it's interesting to see how his mind motivates him to keep everything to himself. It's not like I'm really that overly interested in his toys, but that thing is definitely sort of entwined into our psyche. And over time, I'm gonna go over to him and say, right, okay, well, I've got I can swap you this toy for this toy. Would you like to swap around? And probably without even any thought, he'll drop the other toy, and then he'll take the new toy. But there will be this moment where he'll realize that to participate in the games that are being played and to participate in just goodness and kindness and a happy world, he is going to have to fight his urges to be super selfish and then hold himself back, learn to be disciplined with his own self-interest, and then participate and reap the rewards of that participation. And then the more that he's empathetic to other people and understanding other people's needs and working out how to make people feel better, then he's going to be more and more rewarded in his own positioning in society. So that's one of those little things about selfishness. It might seem like this evil character trait that is intertwined, and everyone thinks, yeah, you greedy, selfish little thing. But if we use that selfishness and we apply it in the correct way and improve on it and create some certain discipline and try and delay the gratification for a later date, then we create a very beautiful world. Yeah, so also one thing with the profit motive is that, so I'm being very pro profit motive now as well in this realm. How when we have an arena of competition, and we're just we're trying to battle against all the other. So if I'm a phone company, I've got to battle against all the other phone companies, and we're challenging each other. Eventually, that product, which came into the market very expensive, has become a lot cheaper, and then we are creating a lot more better. We're creating products which is improving the lives of everybody. So that driver of competition and greed, that thing that's trying to push us forward in our self-motivation, is entwined, actually getting us to a point of producing better, more efficient goods, increasing the living standards of everybody that surrounds us. So there is an amazing what's the word? There is an amazing product of all of this what would be seem to be very like evil traits, which would be selfishness, greed, motivation, hyper competitiveness. All of those traits are channeled into a highly a great thing which improves the living standards of everyone. So yeah, so just think of that. If you channel certain emotions, certain traits into the right things. I always like to go back to Aristotle's anyone can be angry, but to be angry to the right degree, at the right person, at the right time, in the right moment. It's just like a marker of how you can control that emotion and how it can be used correctly. Other emotions can be applied if you know how to use them in the correct manner and the correct methodology. Like greed, like self-interest, when they are applied in the correct manner with the correct teachings, then you have something very magical which happens. I would like to expand on some other little things. So, something just popped into my head. Okay, so competition. Competition is another one of those evil words. I'm just going to tackle this problem as well because this is, as soon as it gives me a little twinge in my head, I need to sort of explore it because we can't let any of these ideas escape us, particularly if we want to try and change the world for the better. So hyper-competitiveness, and when we're being competitive in the market, I know of a one little scheme that you can do as a business is that you can say we've got two businesses which are supplying mail, so they're a mail delivery. Now, one business has been around for quite some time, and a new business hasn't been around for that much time either. Now, let's just say one has got a little bit more capital behind it than the other. Let's say the larger company. Yet this other new business startup has gone into the fray, and there are certain incentives for it to join the market. There may be it may require competition. People might be just a little bit annoyed with there being one monopoly which is occurring. People might want to have a business structured under a different sort of profits center, maybe rather than just having very small parcels, maybe very large parcels. There's all different things that the market that could dictate that this business has a little niche which it can work with. Now, in the essence of competition, this other company is like, what the fuck? I'm not having this little company come in and taking over my profit share. So what it chooses to do in the moment is to lower down its profits. So when I'm saying profits, its price to the market to compete harder against the new kid on the block. Now that obviously puts again a bit more of a pressure on the new kid on the block. The new kid on the block is going to probably be a little bit more efficient because it's not a higher tiered management company. It's going to probably be maybe him, maybe just like a few other little people workers. So they've got probably a low running cost. So that's where their competitiveness kicks in against them. So they can probably run at a lower profit. So this bigger company has to compete against them, and it's lowering the profit. So in the meantime, it's going, well, these balance sheets are not looking very good. We can keep this going, and we can take on a few loans just to keep it going and stifle them out of the market. Now, this large company as well could choose to run at a loss. So then it would take on more loans, need to seek more credit just to keep it running and stifle the new competition out of the market. So we have this issue here. Now, it seems like incredibly evil of this large company doing that, and this new kid on the block is competing against them. And maybe he's got the funds and the capital to only last, say, 6 months. And if it operates at a certain level that it can no longer continue, then he goes bust. All right, so let's say that can happen. And let's say that this large company can do that as well. Now, it's not making a profit, and it's getting severely weakened by this new competitor that's come onto the market. Now, you are by this new competition which has occurred, you have quite severely weakened the monopoly which has been there in the place in the first place. And if anybody's got a good idea of how the mechanisms have been working there, you could say, right, okay, well, I'm going to see this little battle royal happen between these two companies, just like like World War II. You get the big guys to battle out, and then America can just walk in at the end and take over because they've got all the arms and the power and the manpower and everything else, and conquer everything else. So there is that opportunity where there's this battle royal going between two companies. There's no harm for another competitor. So the competitor, the whole market can get a whole lot even more competitive once a battle has ensued, and more can come into the fray. So now I'm saying, like, the remedy for competition is more competition. It's a real it's a nuisance argument to put forward, but it does work. Once you apply more competition to the fray, this large company that's going, right, I'm going to keep this guy out. I can't keep both of these guys out. Then it is struggling. It's got to fight on multiple sides, and it's incapable of continuing at this loss-making incentives. So it's got to cut the management, and it's got to cut all the costs in that realm. And you can see, this company's in a bit of a shocking state, and then the creditors are saying, well, when are we going to get this money back? And they're going to have to just go, right, okay, well, we can't compete this much, and we're going to have to raise our prices eventually. So even if they did kill off the competitor, they've raised the prices, and then another one possibly could come onto the market, as long as it keeps the competition low. That guy that got bankrupt potentially could be his ideas and resources and intelligence of how he entered into the market could be used by somebody else and say, right, can you come and work with us? We're going to try and take him on. And this, in the meantime, the customers have had and enjoyed some beautifully low cost mail, which has improved the market. As when they're under severe stress, they've been seeking better ideas, better innovation of how to drive the costs lower and lower, so they can improve just the margins in that respect. And then there'll be a certain focus on customer care as well. So if this big company wasn't really that great on, like, call centers and things like that, then the other company has walked in and said, right, okay, well, maybe we might not be competing on the level of costs, but we can compete against it in the terms of customer care. And we can still compete on and create our own little niche. Some people value customer care very highly, and rather than just having this big operating company which has no sort of human interaction. So this the answer to competition is more competition. It's annoying as it sounds, but it does kick in, and this mega super corporation does have certain problems. This it's got this high fat element where this manager has to will be taking a large sum of money home with him, and you have let me just get my little map going. So you have this this high profits. Why can I not turn this way? Apologies, 1 second. Let this man come, and now he's created a queue. So you've got this massive incentive for more competition once this large corporation has been battered down, and then the competition drives better products, better produce, lower costs, more innovation. Absolutely amazing things. Now you might say, well, Ross, what about this massive super company that just stifles everybody else? They've got the profits to, they've got the money and the margin just to knock everybody else out of the market. Well, there's not necessarily that you have to directly compete on every single level against this this company. You can, as I said, compete on different levels, and people want things which are more tailored to their needs rather than being sometimes a one size fits all. One size fits all is the big cash cow sort of company, and they are fantastic and they do improve the life standards of everybody. But some people in this world do like a very bespoke, tailor-made product for what their needs are. So there's never this ending sort of cycle of competition, which can occur when you do get these big monopoly companies which appear from nowhere. I like so you think of energy. Energy is one of those like big ones, but you create a couple of wind turbines and fight against this big nuclear company. And just say people can get involved in the profit center of this. It's a cooperative company. That's one of the major drivers of. I think one thing that's missing a lot in companies is shared ownership. I know that a lot of companies do provide shares, but shares back to the corporation. But actual shared legitimate ownership of a company awarded back to the staff, that would be an immense motivation. I remember the staff would be highly motivated if they knew that all the money that was going back to them was going into their share of the company as well. There is definitely more motivation if you take more ownership of that company. So, but those things don't necessarily exist as much anymore because we are living in this corporatocracy. But yeah, I would expect that there will be definitely more of those kind of companies popping up if there was this blockchain environment where we could set up a business and I say, okay, as you are my employee, I ain't really that wealthy in terms of liquidity or bitcoins, but what I can offer you is shares of my company, which if we become fairly successful, which gives them a massive incentive, then we become very rich. So yeah, there's a lot of people just do things voluntary as well. So there's no harm in doing those corruptive things. So enjoy profits, enjoy profit motivations. They even so, at first, there's this little thought that you think there's some evil which is occurring here with the seeking and profit motivation. We do have certain people in this world which are raised immoral and will seek out profit to any means, yet do not understand the destruction which they are causing. And I would say that they've probably got some severe problems in their own mind, in their own set, with regards to their lives. If you're just chasing the money and money only, I always say that Henry Ford is probably my favourite quote man of all time. If you listen to his quotes, any communist who's listening to me, just listen to Henry Ford. He is like the typical like you think capitalist of all time. Look at all of his quotes. He sounds like the biggest communist of all time. Yet he is a pure capitalist. It's an amazing twist of how it's all like laid out. But he's always thinking of his people, how he can improve the lives of other people, how to give his employees more money so that they can purchase the Model T. It is an amazing lesson and schooling that you can have from a real celebrated person of society. So let's just summarize this a little bit better. Now, there's a couple of little subjects I need to cover before I go. So we do have some big arguments against profit motives. I know the resource-based economies, your zeitgeist and everything else thinks that there's I can't remember what bloody Peter Joseph was going on about one time, But there's this breakdown of society, and because of the ills that money produces, there's there's this breakdown of society. The marriages break down. There's pollution. There's ills. There's all of these things which occur. There's it's not necessarily those arguments. Yeah, those things do occur, but we've got to think about what's happening in this world. Going back to my actual name of the podcast itself, when people are creating businesses and creating products, they are creating value in the world. They're improving the lives of others, and in essence, we're if they can continue things and make a profit and improve lives of others at the same time. So that's probably sort of like one of my incentives, is to create a good podcast which can improve people's lives and get some little money back in return for that incentive. Then we are improving the value of our society. If you are just making just pure money and nothing else but money, and your company is just generating money, but you're in a sick and ill environment where you're not improving or raising the quality of anybody's life, and that is probably the harm and the mindset which is occurring in this world. And a lot of that sort of self-interest and don't care about things is coming from the case that people don't own things, people don't have responsibility of things, people do not have houses, people don't own land, people do not own any share of the company that they own. They are disenfranchised from society, and they do not think that they are creating anything of any quality or value to the world, so that they just think, what's the point? And people that have come into incredible amounts of money have done so in the means of being very immoral and giving politicians in right places bribes so that they can further their means and stifle off the competition by the rule of force, rather than the actual incentivization and the fight in competition, which is a good, thriving thing. So really just look at those items and think clearly, especially if you're trying to set up your own business. Think about the value that you're creating. That is the key driver of what motivates you in the morning, how much good you can produce in this world. Now, you might say, okay, well, I've got this egg timer that might improve somebody's life. Yeah, that can improve people's lives. It might make some yummy eggs in the morning. You won't have to throw away anything. It does improve people's lives. It might sound silly, might sound rubbish, but there is some kind of value in comparison to some massive corporate banking sector which just takes a bit of money and then sends it on a bit more money and then just takes their cut, and hey presto, they're doing well. Now, a good banking corporation would be allocating the correct amount. When I say corporation, remove that little corporation word. Will be allocating the correct amount of resources to the more efficient companies so that they can flourish more and provide more value. So that's where we need to focus our attentions on. Profit motive, I would say I would scratch and put value motive is the key driver to us. I know that there's other little arguments of resource-based ideas where we allocate a certain amount of resources. You still need a central power source in place. Gift society, if you still just provide gifts for gifts, it does work to a certain extent, but there still isn't this like bonding contract which occurs when you do work for somebody else. So you do need to have some level of contracts in society, which are voluntary methodologies which can be applied. But if we come out to this world and we think, okay, so we're in this existence of this planet, how can I produce something of value to this world? Maybe I might not be making any money whatsoever for the first 1, 2, 10 years, whatever. Eventually, at some point, after the number of failures that I incur and I learn from, there will be something of value that I can bring to this world, and it can better and improve the world. And the more I stay competitive and more switched on and focused in this realms of creating value rather than profit, sheer pure greed, self-interest, instant gratification, profit, in comparison to long-term value return, cooperation between employees and ownership, and all of those beautiful things that the free market world can create us, then we live in a beautiful place which could almost be called heaven on earth. So, thank you very much for your time. I hope I have put forward some good arguments, counter arguments. I know I'm sort of channeling into the anarchic capitalism mindset, which I think has the greatest arguments, and has the best chances of the betterment of society, our own happiness, and the value that it can create. I think that is where we need to guide ourselves towards, and especially in the teachings of our children. Yeah, just be mindful of that. As always, if you've got any good counter arguments against me, if you're a communist and you think I am an evil capitalist, let me know. But please put forward a good argument. Just find out what point I've made, and then just say, here, right, this is the argument that you make. This is my counter argument. Bum bum bum, and this is why you're wrong. So please, I'm always open to any counter arguments to anything that I put forward. I need to be as thoughtful on all of these processes, and we are here in this competitive idea arena, and we need to seek out the best value that it can create. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and we shall speak again soon. Thank you.